Alrighty, so this is now the video for narrative writing lesson 3. For some of you, this might be a new day from the previous video, and for some of you, you might have just been listening to the one right before. So just to recap, we've talked about how narrative essay writing is made up of many paragraphs, not just one paragraph. We've talked about how narrative essay writing is about writing a story about something that's happened in your life. And it's a small moment in your life that you're zooming in on. You're not writing about your entire life story. Even if you're going to write about a trip that you took to Disneyland with your family, you're not going to write about from the minute you started packing at home to the airplane trip, the days at Disneyland, and then coming home, because that's not zooming in. You're going to pick one small moment from that trip. It could be how you were brave enough to go on Indiana Jones, or brave enough to go on Tower of Terror. Like, it could be a very small moment that you zoom in on. So you're not writing a big moment that went over many days. We read Frustration at the Airport, which we talked about different types of endings, and the ending of that narrative essay was Prediction, because the narrator, the writer, was so grateful that somebody had helped them at the airport that they hope that one day they can help somebody else in a similar way. Okay, so if you go back to the PowerPoint now, can you go to the slide that starts with sequencing events? Okay, so sequencing events. We talked about how narrative essays, we're going to be writing in chronological order. So we're writing from the beginning of the moment to the end of the moment. Okay, so we're not going to be jumping around, which sometimes you can do in writing, but for right now, we're just going to focus on writing from the beginning of the moment to the end of the moment. So you'll get some practice right now with sequencing events. You're going to watch some short clips and then write down the sequence of events. So you'll remember doing this as a class right before spring break. We watched that short clip about the dog Pip, that really cute cartoon about the dog the little puppy who's training to be a guide dog, and he's not very good at it in the beginning, and he's smaller than all the other puppies, and then, spoiler alert, he figures it out and becomes an excellent guide dog. So we're going to watch that video again in just a moment, and some of you remember watching it from before spring break, but many of us were away, so we're going to do it again. So go to the next slide. This is a story plot diagram. I am positive that this is not the first time we're seeing this. You would have seen this in other grades, definitely. So plot diagram, or story arc, or story mountain, whatever you call it. This is the order for a story. So this can often be used for made-up stories, fiction stories, but we're also going to be using this format for our own stories in our lives. So at the beginning, you'll see it says exposition. That's the beginning of the story, giving us some background info about the person and their life. Okay. Then there's conflict. So something happens that creates a problem for the protagonist. Then there's the rising action. So that's a sequence of events that happen as a result of the conflict. These usually get more intense over time. And then there's the climax, which is the top, the most exciting part of the story, or sometimes it's a turning point. And then there's the falling action, the events that happen after the climax. And then there's the resolution, so, the concluding ending of the story, and things tie up, or a peek at how things have changed. Okay? So, this one right here, I'm not going to ask you to copy it into your books, but feel free to. It might help you remember it more, so you can do that if you want. You can pause the video here and then just go copy it, but you don't have to. It will stay up on the class site. Okay, so this one, if you go to the next slide, where it says narrative essay plot diagram, on a line sheet of paper, please take up the whole side of your line sheet of paper, copy this diagram. So pause the video here and copy this plot diagram, because we're going to be filling it in for a video right now. Okay. So this next slide, you can skip these two videos if you want, but they might be helpful to watch. They just go over, again, the parts of a story. There's some Disney movie examples that just help you remember a little bit more about the different parts of the story mountain. So you could pause my video right now and then watch these two YouTube clips. Okay. Okay, so next one. Your slide should now say sequencing events practice. So we're going to watch the short clip and fill in the plot diagram. So copy this diagram, which you already did. You might remember watching this clip right before spring break. So we're going to watch Pip again. So watch the movie Pip and then fill in the plot diagram. And then just leave it in your Duotanger binder. And then when we meet on either Friday or the next Tuesday, it depends if enough people have completed this by Friday, we'll go over what everyone put in their plot diagram for the video Pip. Okay, so pause my video right now and go watch Pip. Alrighty, so the last thing I'm going to have you do is draw another plot diagram. So the diagram you just drew, turn your line sheet of paper over and draw the exact same plot diagram again. So draw the plot diagram, draw exposition, conflict, rising action, climax, falling action, resolution. Okay, and draw it big enough because you're going to be writing some notes underneath it. Okay, so now I want you to think about this essay right here called Learning to Drive. So if you can read this story, Learning to Drive. When you're done reading, can you fill in the plot diagram? Okay? And then we will go over when we meet on MS Teams about what you all put in the different sections. Okay? So that's the end of lesson 3. We haven't started writing our own narrative essay. We did 2 quick writes, but they weren't essays. They were just getting our ideas out onto paper. They weren't essays. Next week, we will start writing essays, and we'll start by picking a topic, and we'll plan it on the story arc. We'll include our intro, our hook, our thesis, our body, conclusion, but we're not going to do that this week. This week is just learning what a narrative essay is. Okay? So that's the end of lesson 3, and if you have any questions about this, please send me a message on MS Teams. Alrighty, thank you.